Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to have a special guest today who happens to be a personal friend that I just adore. I'm lucky to live in the same town. So I want to tell you a little bit about Betty Matz Gelsky. She is from Miami originally. She's been in Dallas now for a few years, and she is a blissfully married wife, mother of four, stepmom to five, and she's been a practicing psychotherapist for over 30 years. She's passionate about helping singles and couples and families create exceptional relationship. And her training is in imago relationship therapy, and she has 25 years of experience in the Adventures in Intimacy weekend workshops for couples all over the world, which equips Betty with a unique approach to relationships, unlike other therapies. And Betty utilizes more than 3 decades of professional and personal experience to help clients build meaningful, lasting, joyous, authentic, deeply intimate connections, which is why she was invited to our special Valentine's call for the month. So welcome, Betty.
Thank you. That was a mouthful. Thank you, Allie. And
Yes.
welcome, everybody. And thank you. I'm so grateful to have been invited tonight, especially right before Valentine's Day. So I'm really excited to be on the call.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share about yourself that
Yeah, I'll just share a little bit about myself personally because I'm very transparent. I'm an open book, and I think everything that I have experienced in my life has definitely shaped who I am personally and professionally. It's made me a better human. It's made me a better therapist. So I was married for 17 years to the father of my 4 children. And in 2005, that marriage ended. So for the next 10 years or so, I really utilized that time to kind of get to know myself better, start to learn about what was important to me, kind of what were the traits and qualities that I seek in a partner, also how I show up in a relationship. I was raising my kids for those 10 years. And then there were a few marriage proposals during those years, but I did not just want to have a ring on my finger. It was really important to me to be with somebody that would be passionate about being on this great adventure, somebody that would grow with me and be relationally and emotionally intelligent. And about 8 years ago, I met that guy. His name is Brad, and he was living here in Dallas, but I was in Miami. And he's the primary father of 5 children. So long story short, we blended, we got married, and oftentimes people or clients will ask me, well, how did that go? How did that blending process go? And I say that it went surprisingly smoothly, but I think it was because we really set a tone in our relationship for respect and patience and acceptance and warmth. And I think that really trickled down to the kids, not only that they saw that between us, but that we created that environment in our family to welcome anyone's thoughts and feelings. And so the blending went pretty smoothly. So yeah, that's me personally. And I think everything I've gone through has really helped me become even a better therapist. Oh, but I want to say one other thing, Allie, that thank goodness that my husband was living in Dallas for 10 years when I met him. So when my youngest went to college 2.5 years ago, I said, let's go back to Dallas. So here we are. And I love Texas. I'm thriving. I got to meet amazing people and friends like Alexia and Allie. And I really, one area of my life that I didn't know too much about was essential oils until I met them. And I'm always trying to grow and learn, and I'm a truth seeker. So I'm still, connected to Allie and Alexia and constantly learning. And my husband had the flu last month. And, I'm texting them and calling them, like, what can I do? And I'm looking in my little book, like, what's for the flu? And I did it all. Like, I was putting the oils on his spine. I was diffusing them. I was putting them in his tea and under his tongue. And it was amazing. I can't hear Allie. Allie, you're muted.
Oops. Sorry,
It's
I was
okay.
trying to turn all the notifications off my
It's
computer
okay.
so tell me a little bit about how you help singles and couples alike, and what's your role in helping in the counseling
Okay.
process?
So it's a very non-intimidating experience. I really like to see myself as a relationship personal trainer, whether I'm seeing a single or a couple. And, like when we go to the gym, maybe we hire someone that's an expert to teach us exercises and we learn from them, but it's not enough that we just work out with them once a week. It's not enough that a couple or a single comes to me and learns once a week. I say to them, really on your own time, you need to be developing and growing your muscles, your relationship muscles. Sometimes we all have our strengths, obviously, but it's like cross training. We have to have more balance. Maybe we need to learn to stretch a little more in our relationships or grow different muscles that we haven't used so much. So I'm really there to like keep teaching, keep encouraging, giving the skills. And then also my clients need to utilize those on their time. Because when they come to me and they say, well, it's not working, it's like, are you working it?
It's just like we say with the
It's not
oils.
magic.
We say the oils don't work if you don't
Right.
use them.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So talk to me a little bit about Imago, because I know that's your specialty. So explain.
Okay, so let me start before I get into the Imago, and I was fortunate enough to train with Harville Hendrix, who's the creator of Imago, and also his master instructors, Heidi Schleifer, who was someone I stayed with for close to 25 years, I think. Kind of the way that I present this is that we all grow up observing our parents or whoever our childhood caretakers were. And we observe their relationship with each other, their relationship with us, and their relationship with the world. And we capture what I call mental photos of what love looks like. And little by little, over the years, over the decades, each one of us is creating our own unique photo album of what love looks like. And little do we know that we carry around this invisible photo album, I say under here, under our armpit, and we bring that with us, not only to our romantic relationship, but also to our parenting. So a lot of the work that I do is kind of like looking into those albums. What were those images that we captured? There's a lot of self-exploration and learning going on. But imago is the Latin word for image. And what Harville Hendrix says is that when the time comes for us to choose a partner in life, we may, like I had we may have a list of traits and qualities that we seek in someone, but there are some unconscious processes going on, obviously, that we're completely unaware of. And what that is that we will be unconsciously drawn to someone who is the imago, who is in the image of, or who is like one of our parents. Now, in the beginning, when we're drawn to this person, we're in the romantic stage, so we're not going to see that. We're just going to think everything is wonderful. But the design is that nature brings us actually with somebody, brings us together with somebody who is like one of our parents who wounded us in some way growing up. And I don't say any of this to blame parents, because if we know our parents' stories, they took their pictures growing up, right? And beyond that. So I never say this to blame parents in any way. It's just, where do we stop the pattern? Where do we stop the cycle? So while it sounds kind of cruel, why would nature play this trick on us to bring us together with somebody who is like that parent who wounded us? And this person is capable of wounding us in the same way. It's because nature wants us to heal. Nature wants us to correct anything that needs to be corrected from the past. It wants us to finish unfinished business. And so by choosing someone similar, the emotional brain number one, does not know time. It's atemporal. So experience something now is as if we were experiencing that wound in the past. And by healing it now, it's as if we're healing the original wound. So that's one of the first things that I start off with my clients, is kind of letting them know this is the design of a relationship. Don't be surprised, you know, and then when we tend to choose the same kind of partner, or date the same kind of partner, and they're either like mom or they're like dad, there's a design behind that. So it's really, you know, and most of us are not taught what to do with that. We have conflict, we're afraid of conflict, we get into the same fights, we don't know what to do with it. So I really help my clients kind of unpack everything and not see each other as the enemy or the opponent, but how do we extract from this the learning opportunity, the growth opportunity for both of us.
Do you want to talk about what connection means for you in relation to, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of times couples will approach me saying that they want to learn how to communicate better. And I say to them, sorry, I don't really teach that. I really focus on creating connection, because I think a lot of our communication issues will dissolve when we focus on creating connection. And connection, I'll go into a little bit later too, but it's really about creating safety with each other. I think we're all born in connection, obviously, by the umbilical cord. We all would like to leave this world connected, either holding the hand of someone we love or being surrounded by the people we love. And so how do we create that connection while we're here? It makes me think about a client that reached out to me virtually in 2020 during the lockdowns. And he was living in Israel, and he had just met a young lady at a wedding in New York. And for some reason, he felt like this is the one. He didn't know why. He said, but what are my chances now? I'm across in another country. We're in lockdowns. There's no way this relationship is going to go anywhere. Little by little, I just worked with him weekly on, when you talk to her, when you Skype, just keep building connection. Keep making her feel safe, so that she can open up, so that she can show you who she is, so that she feels safe to do that. And about a year later, he moved to New York. And I think a year after that, they were getting married. They invited me, but I couldn't go because my daughter was going to college. So connection. It's all about how do we create those moments of connection in our relationships. And I feel like we really have to slow down because life is so frantic and busy and we're all doing a million things. So how can we really learn to slow down and be present and be mindful with each other and connect?
So if you could give us one concept that would change and improve the quality of our relationships, what would that be?
Okay, so I'm going to start by asking everybody here a strange question. The question is, when you think about your relationship that you're in, or maybe one that you've been in, or even one with a child, if you're not in a romantic relationship, when you think about the entirety of that relationship from the beginning, the challenges, the highlights, where you are now, where would you say that your relationship for you lives? I'll give you a couple examples and then you can type in your answer. So for example, for me, my relationship lives in my heart. Or I can also say that my relationship lives at my dining room table, where I envision our family together and we're talking and we're eating and we're playing games and it's very alive. So I want you to think about an actual place where you feel like your relationship lives for you. I'll give you a funny one. I have some couples that don't have children and they've said our relationship lives in our dogs. So you can be as creative as you want, whatever feels genuine for you. Oh, somebody's asking, imago is with an I like image, IMAGO. I'm glad that makes sense, Alyssa. Okay, so Allie, for you at the beach, Elizabeth feels her relationship lives in church. And for Christy, on your walks together, Erica, in your home. I like that. Stormy in your kitchen, right? They say that's the heart of the home. In our bedroom, and not in a sexual way. Alyssa, thank you. I'll give you guys a few more seconds. Anybody else? Oh, the porch. Oh, that actually reminds me, when I was looking for a life partner, I really envisioned myself on a rocking chair on my front porch. And I was like, who do I want to be rocking with and talking to on my front porch? And Nicole says in the kitchen, and Rebecca on the motorcycle. Wow. Okay, we'll keep them coming. But let me just share with you that there was a 20th century in backyard and camping and outside activities. I love this. Great. On the couch and at the lake. Okay. All wonderful answers, and it kind of gets us to think a different way, right? Because it's a question that maybe no one has asked us. We've never even considered ourselves. But there was a 20th century philosopher named Martin Buber who actually said that our relationship lives in the space between us. And I will actually like point to the space between the couple. So whether they're sitting on the sofa next to each other or thousands of miles apart, that relational space is alive. It has energy and frequency and vibration. And when there's children in the family or in the relationship, that relational space is where the children play and grow up. And if we think about our parents' relationship and we grew up in that space, we can think about, was that playground that we grew up in and played in, was that playground safe and clean and fun? Or sometimes that playground can be polluted and not safe, maybe dangerous. Right? So we can think about this on two levels. We can think about what it was like for us growing up in our parents' relational space. And if we have children, we can think about what is the relational space that they are growing up in. But Buber goes on to say that the divine presence resides in our relational space. And I always like to say, okay, we're all special people, right? We're all pretty amazing here on this call tonight. But we're regular people. And I'm like, wow, really? Like God lives in our relational space? Right there in each of our relational space, that's pretty special. And so once I say this to my clients and to you guys tonight, we now have an understanding that the relational space between us and any other human being is sacred. Even between nations. Imagine what the world would look like if the nations recognized that the space between them is holy, holy ground, right? If parents recognize this, how would we speak with our children? What would our tone be? What would our body language be? And so once we have this awareness, that comes with a responsibility. And the responsibility is that each of us needs to now sanctify the space between us and our partner. Let's talk about our partner. It's really with any human being, but let's talk about with our partner. And so that's a nice concept. It's a nice hypothetical, right? This is holy ground in our relational space. But how do we do that practically? We do that by each person taking 100% responsibility for what we put into, what we contribute into the atmosphere of the relational space. So, when I said we start to slow things down a little, we have to first hit the pause button. If I have a reaction or I'm going to put my energy into the relational space, I have to first hit the pause button and ask myself the question, what I'm about to say or do, is that going to create an atmosphere here that feels open and warm, inviting, connected, accepting, trusting, loving, and safe? Or what I'm about to say or do, is that going to create a space between us that feels cold, closed, disconnected, judgmental, unhealthy, maybe toxic, or sometimes even dangerous emotionally or physically? And I think most people, I have a lot of faith in people. And I believe that if we're really, really honest with ourselves and we pause and we ask those questions, we know the answer. We know how our input is going to affect the climate between us and our partner. And so, because God is involved here, the divine presence, the higher being, whatever you want to call, the light, whatever works for you, is in our relational space. We don't wait for the other person to do it first. It's not like, okay, Allie, I will sanctify the space in our relational space when you do. I'm going to wait. No, it's my responsibility. And especially when we're growing the muscles to become relationally mature and intelligent. That's my goal, right? And so when we're doing this, we want to really learn ourselves and become very vigilant because of ourselves. Because sometimes something like this, an eye roll, or dismissiveness, or some kinds of humor or sarcasm can actually pollute the relational space. So we want to be really vigilant of ourselves, get to know ourselves and what we're contributing into the relational space. And I usually give that to my couples or singles in the first session, because I say, if I never see you again and you just focus on doing this well, you'll succeed. And by the way, if I can share, when my husband moved to Miami for the first 6 years of our relationship, and he didn't really like Miami too much, no offense to anybody. I like Florida, but I do like Texas better. He would walk every Saturday to like the nearest temple, which was a 2-mile walk each way on a very busy street. And he came back and said to me, people here in Miami, it's like you're invisible. Somebody will be walking right towards you or biking, and they don't even acknowledge you. So I said to him, let's do an experiment. This is fun. You can sanctify the space between you and, somebody at a Starbucks register. So I said, let's do an experiment. So I would occasionally walk with him when it wasn't too hot. And I said, we're going to sanctify the space between us, and any person that comes towards us, even sometimes sitting at a bus bench or once or twice on the ground, what we're going to do on the noisy street is we're just going to say, good morning, and wave, because maybe they don't hear us. And we did it with no expectation for anything in return. And that's kind of what we need to do, to put that out into the universe. And what happened was magical, because people were seen and they felt not invisible anymore. And somebody acknowledged them, and they would say hello back, or they would sometimes say to us, shalom, or they would say, you look so nice. Like, this is how we connect. with other human beings. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes mindfulness and willingness and slowing life down.
So we had talked about some fun ways to connect with your partner.
Mhm.
Should we talk about that?
Sure, go for it.
Well, we were brainstorming on some
Right.
things that wanted to talk about. And Betty is still pretty new. She's kind of a novice to oils. So, and her expertise is not in like hormone balancing or bedroom oils or any of that stuff. But so I thought what we do is could share some ideas. So, we do know that we have diffusers that we can manipulate the room with, right? So I encourage you to use some of those bedroom oils, which we can talk about some of them, to kind of, get yourself and your spouse in the mood. Sometimes it's a hormonal thing, right? We just need to balance our hormones. So I'm going to share a graphic here in just a second where you can copy and paste that. So if you're a woman and you're like, I'm just never in the mood, I don't want him to touch me ever, like I just want to be platonic friends with my significant other, you might need some just hormone balancing to get back to where you were when things were moving properly, right? Down below. So Elizabeth was talking about goldenrod for the man. Yes. So, and I'll put in here a little graphic here here we go. This is a great one for women to balance hormones, because if you're just never in that headspace, maybe you need some hormone balancing there. But some ideas to kind of spice things up. I tend to take a little bit more on than I probably should. And in beginning of January, my family and I went on vacation. And I tell you, my love is at the beach. Like that is where we always go. We got married on the beach. That's why, like, when you say like, where is it's on the beach. And every time I need to I use some self-hypnosis techniques that I learned when I was planning to give birth to like help me through labor. And my mind, it always takes me to the beach with my husband. That's the calming, loving place that makes me feel secure. And so that's why that is in my head. And so while I was at the beach, I decided to read a romance novel. It just came up on one of the freebie books, and I happened to pick one that was part of a series. I know it's like a long series. And so I have been reading these romance novels, and my poor husband is like, just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, almost like, read these 3 pages. Yeah, I haven't made him read them yet because I'm almost too embarrassed to have him read them. But I will say, like, just reading something that kind of like gets you thinking about that is really fun. And then another thing that we talked
Because
about,
after all, this is the biggest sex organ right here.
yes, as we talked about too, is that like just saying things that make your husband feel strong and hot, right? And we need to feel beautiful and loved, right? So, and communicating that with your significant other, if they're not good at that, is also a good thing. And a way to communicate that with your spouse. Okay, the series is by Elsie Silver, is the name of the author, and she's got like multiple series. So I'm reading like 2 books a week right now. I haven't watched any TV in like a month, 2 months now. Anyway, so Elsie Silver. But another idea that we talked about was there's some great games that are like decks of cards where you ask questions. And so I'll put a couple in here that we ordered, and that we're kind of making our way through slowly. I just got them last week, but there's the Talk, Flirt, Dare one. And I like that one because it's 3 different decks. And so I was like, okay, let's try some cards out of the Talk one. They're like super easy. This is out of my husband's comfort zone because he's not like his family didn't talk about things. My family talked about everything. Like my dad was always groping my mother in the kitchen. That's just how
Allie, that's where those photos that we take come into play,
exactly.
right?
It's 100%. Exactly.
Mhm.
So for me, it's very much like I'm very touchy, right? So I pulled out the Talk, Flirt, Dare one last week. We didn't get to the Dare. He wasn't ready for the Dare yet, but we did the Talk one for a few. And then we did the Dare one. The Flirt one for a few. So that was a really fun one. I recommend that one. I think it wasn't too like, there's something, we didn't get to the Dare deck, I will say, but it wasn't a raunchy thing. And it was just 3 different decks of cards with questions. I thought that was fun. And I haven't gotten into the intimacy prompts one yet, but that one came highly recommended on Amazon as well. So just another idea of things that we could talk about. And then you got a gift from Alexia that I was like, yeah, you haven't tried this yet? And
No, I
Betty,
forgot about it, but I have to put it right on my nightstand.
I know, I Betty got in trouble today because I gave her an assignment before today and she did not complete the assignment. But it
Well, I partially completed it. I just didn't use the oil.
did not, but you did not use it. Again, the oils don't work unless you use them. But one of the things that we were talking about, and I tell all my girlfriends this, and I'm just going to be like very matter of fact about it. If a woman has pleasure in the bedroom, and if that pleasure is derived also from smell, then when she smells that again,
Mm.
it's going to very quickly make her feel like she's having pleasure again. So
Conditioning yourself.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly. So highly recommend the sensation massage oil. Use it on your nether regions. I have all kinds of stories, but I'll just tell you, my husband says, I'm good, but I'm not that good. But it just makes his job very easy. If your husband or your significant other is aiming to please, it makes their job very easy. So I highly suggest you keep it in your nightstand. And this month there's a free promo of the sensation oil. You can make your own sensation massage oil with that freebie oil. Just throw it in a carrier oil. A good one is like always the organic cold pressed. You can do there's cold pressed organic liquid coconut oil is a good one. You want something that has some emulsion in it, or you can buy the V6 oil from Young Living and just throw it in there. I like the things that have the pump on them. Sorry, TMI, but you want it to be handy and easy.
Mhm.
So those are some good oily tips for you. And we can also take some other suggestions too, but any
Yeah,
other,
other ideas. And I just want to say about the prompts is so important because I even have a couple, well, one of them specifically that I'm working with now that they've been married over 20 years and they haven't ever had the language to talk about sex. So also they didn't grow up in environments where they saw that. But having these kinds of games or prompts that can kind of ignite the conversation really is helpful and fun.
yeah, yeah, it's so great. Yeah, it was pretty funny. We were kind of answering. I was like, "You're going to say this, aren't you?" He's like, "Yep." You're going to say this. Yep. Yeah, it's good, but we didn't have to like. They were really fun.
And it's amazing because whether the relationship is new or years, you really learn about each other.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything else you want to add, or should we open for questions? What do you think? And I
Well, I
can.
want to hear other ideas. Other things that I like is like we're very into adventure. We like doing like physical things together, whether it's going on hikes or playing racquetball. But also I remember a few years ago, there's a book that has like really romantic date ideas. So I think we're very lucky nowadays that we have all of this at our fingertips.
Yes, yes. I know a lot for us we both enjoy cooking and coming up with ideas. So sometimes we like watch a cooking show together and then like make something together. So that's a fun thing to do to
Mhm.
create connection as well.
Because what I often say to my clients is that men are like microwaves. You just put the food in and ding, in a few seconds, ready. But a woman is really a slow cooker. It takes us time. It might take hours. You have preparation, and the whole preparation doesn't have to be in the bedroom. It could be cooking, it could be hiking, massage. It takes hours to prepare us.
Yep. Yep. Is there anything else that anyone wants to share before we stop the recording? I know that's asking a lot. Men are like microwaves. I know it's a good one. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording so we can open up for questions so no one feels like they can't ask something that's going to be recorded.